to talk to you about a special kind of belt I make that doesn't use a metal buckle, or at least it doesn't use a metal buckle that shows. So I'm going to talk to you about how these are made, who these are good for, and I am actually going to show you step by step the process by which I make them, which is actually quite a few steps. If you don't know who I am, my name is Jan Hibbard, and my business is Log Cabin Leather by Jan. I've been making handmade leather products since 1977. Belts have always been my best seller. And again, this is a special kind of belt because there is no metal buckle. Now, what I mean is by no metal buckle, you don't need any kind of metal buckle. I do make belts that have removable buckles, so you can put your own fancy buckles on them and things like that. This is not what I'm talking about here. This is a belt that actually the buckle is built into the belt and it hooks on the inside, so there really is a metal piece in it. But there's nothing exposed on the front, so there is no metal that you see when you have this belt on. And so, who is this perfect for? This is perfect for a musician because many musicians suffer from buckle rash. The back of the back of the instruments get scratched by their buckle, so they either turn their buckles to the side, they don't wear them. There's all different ways to solve that, but this is a perfect uh, way to solve that. And of course, I do make guitar straps also, and so you can get them in colors or even with matching designs to match the guitar straps I make. Um, So it hooks on the inside. How it goes on is, and I do custom fit them just like any belt I have. This is a solid black one. This is an inch and a half wide. I make them in three widths: inch and a quarter, inch and a half, inch and three quarter. I can't make them any narrower than that because they do have a metal piece inside of them. I'll talk a little bit more. And this is how it hooks. So that's built into this here. You can only see the hook, the end of the hook right there. So when this goes on, these holes are gonna be adjusted to fit your waist. This is gonna be the hole that's measured for your waist, couple holes either side. So when this is buckled, just like any other kind of belt I make, it is gonna go through this belt loop, which is now on the inside of the belt, so it doesn't show. And so this would be the hole that this would be ideal for this person, would be that hole. It fits in there. It buckles on the inside like that. You do not feel that against your waist. Now, I'm another person that this is great for is for somebody like me who's allergic to metal. Even the metal, the snap on a pair of jeans bothers me. So many belts and things, but I can't wear the big buckle because, again, if any of my skin is exposed and it touches it, it's going to give me a rash. Something I can't wear earrings. I've talked about that before. So this is perfect because it hooks on the inside like that. It does hook in there, so it's designed for the thickness of the belt, and then you have a belt without a buckle. It's also the original, what I called it was a mechanic's belt, because it's perfect for a mechanic for the same reason. They're not going to scratch uh, the piece of equipment. My husband was a Caterpillar mechanic, and actually sometimes he was actually climbing inside engines, and so if your buckle got caught on something, that could be dangerous at times. So something like this was good because it was a little more smooth on the outside, and nothing really to catch. Um, it's also good for somebody with an antique car for that reason because you can lean on it, you can polish it, things like that. You're not going to scratch it. So perfect for those mechanics, antique cars, musicians. So those three things. But again, just if you like the style, the streamline, you don't like the buckle, or somebody again with a metal allergy, perfect for that. So the first step of any of this, any kind of belt I make, is cutting the piece from the hide. Now obviously this is just a small piece, but this is belt leather. So the first thing I have to do is straighten out the edge of the hide, which they're huge. I've showed some videos before. It's larger than the table I have here. It's very hard for me to work with because it almost doesn't fit in this entire space I have right here. Sometimes have to move the table out further into the room. So you have to cut a straight edge first. So I'm just assuming that's straight for this demonstration. This is called a belt stripper. So I'm going to adjust it to the size. It loosens. Adjust it to the size, the width of the belt. So this is where it's going to cut. The blade is here. It's right here. So anything in between there, that's how wide it's going to cut. So that would be like a 2-inch belt. But now, if you're cutting an 1.5-inch belt, it's actually going to be a tiny bit narrower than that, because if you were getting a buckle for an 1.5-inch belt, the buckle is going to be exactly an 1.5 inches wide, and if your belt is that wide, it is going to rub on the edges. So the belts are a tiny bit narrower than the actual width. So this is an 1.25 inch belt. It is not quite an 1.25 inches. So what I've done is I made these make these patterns, so all my belts are uniform. So this is my 1.25 inch pattern. Again, I have to set this down on the table to get it flat. I do tighten it with pliers to make sure it stays to the slot I want it. Take that out and see, again, I have a whole pack of patterns for that. I also use that to make the tip to cut the, the corners. Here I have the patterns are in there too, are the same thing. So now that this is cut, this is going to cut the 1.25 inches. And I'm using this piece because that makes it easier to start. And now basically I have to slide this along, holding the edge of this tight against the leather, and then it's going to cut that strip the exact size. Now when I'm cutting belts, I'm actually on top of the table holding this down with my body because the piece is so big. So I don't know if you can see what I'm doing here. You slide that along like that, so that would cut a piece. So that could actually be a strap, a piece for a guitar strap, adjustment strap. So you cut the end like that. Now you have these very straight cut, kind of sharp edges. So now we need to smooth those down. Then we need to smooth them up. Then we need to dye them. All sorts of steps that need to be done to them. So the next thing, again, if it's a real rough cut, which again, it shouldn't be on something like this, but the curvy edges around here, these little pieces here, if I don't think that's perfectly round, what I'm going to do next is use it's a Dremel and it has a little sanding disc on it. So I'm going to run that over the edges. And like if there's a corner and I don't like the way it's too sharp and things like that, I want to round it some more a little bit, I can use this. So that's the next step. So you smooth out the edges, again, get the corners. So again, there's no sharp, I don't want a sharp edge right there. I want the corners to be smooth. You notice that they're still lighter. But again, to make these smooth edges, first I have to bevel it. So what that is I'm going to cut a little piece of leather like this off of the edge using what's called a bevel. And you do that on the top, which is what I'm doing now. Just cutting this piece. You can see that it's white there and not here. Lighter colored. And then you're also going to do it on the back side. So let me see if I can show you how I do that. And I usually face the other way because I like to lean it against this table so I have a firm surface to hold it against. It makes doing it a little bit easier. And again, so you do this around the whole thing on the top edge. But because I'm going to glue it to another piece, I'm not going to do it on the bottom edge up here where the buckle goes. So if you can, I don't know if you can see on that one, I've beveled the back side here, but I have stopped right here. Because this is where now the next, okay. So you're going to cut that strip off all around the edges. Sometimes I add an extra line on the edge, like the stamped ones have the line on the edge. I have to dye and so forth. The edge, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if the camera can see. I have to dye this edge to see. Now this I cut, and again, I didn't dye it, so that's the difference. And I have to smooth up the edges and so forth. So once all those edges are cut and smoothed, then I have to apply something and smooth them down. I will do this to this piece first. Then I still have to sew on a piece for the back and so forth. So this is called tragacanth, and this is gonna go on the edges. You want to make sure you get this like back edge where you've beveled too. So you want to make sure it turns color. And you can, I rub this on some as I go, which actually helps to smooth the edges down too. But once this is done on the entire piece, the whole belt, then I'm going to smooth it down. Again, I'm going to wipe it off here a little bit, which I don't have a water rag handy, to be good honest. Wipe it off a little bit. Sponge. Yeah, you wipe it off the surface. It really isn't going to hurt it, but I do sometimes, I wash it with saddle soap. So once that's done, then again, you're going to burnish it. So now, the other half of my room, I have a burnisher that's attached to a drill press. And it hangs upside down. It's about 1.5 inches wide. Again, it has, I think, 6 different notches instead of just the 3 that this has. This has a tip, so this is actually good to go in a slot or something. That's what this one's made for. This is my travel one. But what you do, and because my workshop is set up in different areas, I can't take my camera and because my laptop and my camera are separate. I can't take it to a different part of the room while I'm filming. So I'm doing it with my travel one instead of the the one that permanent in my room. So obviously you turn this on, it spins, and basically you're gonna find the groove that's a white width for what you're doing. And it should make it shiny. It's basically heating it up a little bit, and it's gonna smooth off the edges. Now see, this little curve part of this is perfect to do like in places like that, because it's really, that actually fits in there too, but a lot of times that's not always the case. So that's going to make the edges nice and smooth. And again, it can go all different speeds. You don't want it to go real fast because then it's going to burn it, and it's actually going to dent it because it's going to really groove into, like grind it down. So you want to burnish it. It does add some color to it, but then it is going to be dyed after that. But before you do that, now you have the whole back piece that's going to hold the metal buckle piece in. Now we're back to this piece. So for the back of each belt, there's a piece that's cut. This piece happens to be the color that's going on the back of this belt. So I've traced the tip of the buckle. Again, this isn't tied and so forth at the end. You're going to trace the end of the buckle. I've done it a couple different times. I decided I was going with here. Trying to get the design so this is the center, because this is like the buckle part. So trying to get the design centered on here was what I was trying to do. So I have this piece here. This is where this piece goes. And basically on the back, it's going to hook. So this is, the smooth side is going to be what's going to show. This piece needs to be attached in here. So the next thing I need to do is my hole punch. There's going to be a hole in the middle here. It's actually going to attach to this piece. And then this hole is where it sticks out of the piece. So this piece basically goes like this. And that hole is punched out there. It just isn't coming out as well as I'd like it to. Alright, so that's where this lines up. So now that will be on the inside of the belt. So now why I've cut this slot here is where the belt loop is going to go. Remember, it's going to have a belt loop that goes on the inside of the belt. So again, matching leather. This slot is cut the width of the belt. Now this is also beveled, and will also the edges will be burnished. I still have to cut. I've cut the slot, but I haven't cut this piece off, and it's a little bit narrower than where my stitching will be, because when I stitch, I do not want to stitch through this. So where this sews into, and basically what's going to happen is this is going to wrap around. That piece is going to be cut out. It's going to wrap around, be attached here in the middle, and so that will be the loop that the belt will go through on the inside. So it will be designed to fit through this. Of course, it's going to go the other way because the belt's going to actually hook. This will be going through like that because it will be hooking. That's going to be the inside. So if that makes sense. Again, so quite a bit there you have to cut. Then I have to attach it. Then I have to make sure the holes are going to line up. And sometimes that's tricky, getting the holes to line up on both pieces. It does have to be hand sewn. So this piece and the belt keeper are riveted on. Then the stitching holes need to be punched. And then it is hand sewn. So it's sewn around like that. Tape it off onto the back of the belt. And there you go. So that's showing most of the process there. Again, there's a little bit more involved with the buckle and now punching the holes and so forth. And again, that is the trickiest part. I do have something, I have a kind of double-sided tape that I use, and I will tape it along the edges to line them up and so forth. Obviously, that's not the right one. But to line them up when I'm going to sew it and so forth. So basically that's kind of the process. It is quite a process. It is, there are many steps. All of these steps are done to make a regular belt as well, with the exception of the back piece and the sewing. But they are all beveled. They are all burnished. Again, once I had my sample piece there. Or whatever, once they're burnished or whatever, then they are dyed, and I have dyed markers, and so this happens to be a black marker. But once the edges are beveled, once this is put on and the edges are burnished, then they are dyed. So again, this one I didn't do the edge of it. So that's put on. You smooth it up. You take the marker. Actually, this is black, so I'm not going to use it. But it's regular tip fat marker. And I just paint the edges. Now, this is the dye that I use. It is made for leather. It's put in these special markers because it's far less messy. It still can, if the marker's overfilled, I do refill them. It can be messy. So I'm not doing that right now. And again, because that's black and this is brown, so wrong color marker. I have them to match the different colors and so forth. And then again, once this is on, it is going to be sanded down a little. The edges will be trimmed. I always cut things oversized. Once it's cut, once it's finished, then it's going to be trimmed, which is basically, then it's going to be trimmed to line, trimmed evenly. It's going to be sewn first, then trimmed in this case. Then it's going to be sanded down again with the this to make sure I have the edges smooth, so that the two pieces should look like they're one. And once that's done, then there again, the tragacanth is going to be put on, smoothed down some more. Then they're going to be dyed, so when it is finished, it will look like the two pieces are one. And the only thing I can show you that on this is, again, a guitar strap I'm working on. So on some of the edges here you can see, you can't almost really tell that there was two pieces of leather there. And so that's the idea, is to try to get them really smooth so they kind of mold together. And then these, of course, will get nice and soft with age um, on the strap. That's about going to wrap it up for now. Once again, this is Jan Hibbard, Log Cabin Leather. This was a demonstration on how I make a special kind of belt that buckles without having a metal buckle that's exposed. Great for musicians so they don't get buckle rash. Great for mechanics. Great for people with antique cars. Great for people with metal allergies. They come in widths from 1.25 up to 1.75. They come in 5 or 6 solid colors, including some of these colors that you see here. They come with some stamped designs as well. Some of them have guitar straps that match them. So then now you can have a belt that you won't be, you can wear a belt because you won't get the buckle rash, the scratches on your guitar. So you can have the belt that matches your guitar strap if you want to go that way. Or if you have, you know, a guitar strap, maybe this color or something like that, then a solid color strap. I mean, a belt. Again, these are all the buckleless belts. They are all custom fit to your waist. As long as it is large enough, then it can, you know, it will be custom fit to the size you need. So again, all different colors and designs. I do custom make them. So again, I have a guitar show coming up. Well, I don't have it. It's the Northeast Guitar Fest. It is in Natick, Massachusetts. I will have some other posts about it. It's at a hotel down there. And it is on May 23rd, which is a Sunday. And it runs, I believe, from 11 to 4. So keep watching for more posts about that and links to the show. And it's a Northeast Guitar Expo. Held in Natick, Mass this year, May 23rd. That's going to wrap it up for now. Thank you very much. Have a great night.